Okay, so ready to dive into a world where things are getting kind of blurry, like the line between human and digital is like disappearing fast. So, have you ever thought about AI avatars? You know, those digital things that look and sound like eerily real.
Yeah, it's pretty wild how fast they've gone from clunky cartoons to like these hyper-realistic digital beings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's AI that can like mimic human appearance speech and even those tiny little nuances like an expression.
It's like we're stepping into one of those like sci-fi films, right? And like what's really crazy is that they're popping up everywhere. Like picture this, you're flipping through channels and you see a news anchor reporting on the latest stuff, except it's an AI avatar delivering the news 24/7 flawlessly, like in multiple languages.
Yeah, and think about like what that means for like media companies. It's like a potential gold mine, right? Because AI avatars can mean like slashing production costs and like pumping out content like crazy fast, like lightning speed. No more studio setups, no more scheduling headaches, just pure streamlined content creation.
Almost sounds too good to be true. But let's like get specific because I know you've like dug deep into some pretty fascinating examples.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So remember how Robert De Niro was like digitally de-aged in The Irishman? That's like a little taste of what AI can do, and it's not just Hollywood either. ESPN is already using an AI avatar called FactTS to like provide college football analysis. Imagine having instant replays broken down, like play-by-play by an AI, like spotting things that even like seasoned commentators might miss.
Wow, that totally changes the whole game watching experience. Speaking of changing the game, AI avatars are making a splash in the entertainment industry too, and not just in the way you might think.
Yeah, forget about basic CGI characters, right? We're talking about AI taking on roles that used to be like exclusively human. Imagine a film set where like dangerous stunts are performed by digital doubles, eliminating the risk to human actors.
Talk about pushing the limits of filmmaking and like those massive battle scenes with like thousands of soldiers. Like that could be entirely AI generated, saving filmmakers a ton of time and money.
Exactly. And it opens up this whole new world of creative possibilities. Imagine like entire virtual worlds populated by AI characters who interact with each other and their actions are driven by algorithms. It's like a video game coming to life.
Speaking of video games, I have to ask, how is AI changing that world?
Well, think beyond just better graphics. We're talking about AI that can generate like unique quests and dialogue for non-player characters, so it makes each playthrough of a game truly unique. Imagine a game where you never encounter the same storyline twice.
That's incredible. It takes personalization to a whole new level. But it's not just about making things look and feel different, right? There's this whole other layer of making these AI avatars well smarter.
You're right. It's not just mimicking human behavior. It's about like replicating, even like exceeding human intelligence.
Yeah.
Think about AI tutors that can adapt to a student's learning style in real time, offering like customized lessons and feedback.
That's a game changer for education. It's like having a personalized teacher available 24/7, but AI tutors are just the tip of the iceberg, aren't they?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're talking about like AI companions for the elderly, offering not just care, but like genuine interaction and companionship. And in healthcare, imagine like AI-powered diagnostic tools that can analyze symptoms and recommend treatment options with like an accuracy that surpasses human doctors.
We're really talking about AI like reshaping the very fabric of our lives, but with all this talk of like futuristic applications, there's one thing I can't stop thinking about: virtual influencers. These AI powered characters are like all over social media and they're blurring the lines between what's real and what's digital in a way that's both fascinating and honestly a little unnerving.
Yeah, it's a phenomenon that's like turning the marketing world on its head. These virtual influencers can be perfectly tailored to a target audience. Their message is meticulously crafted, and their availability is 24/7.
For brands, it's like a dream come true, but what about the rest of us? Are we falling for like a carefully constructed illusion?
That's a great question, and it brings up a whole host of issues about like transparency and authenticity in the digital age. But before we delve into the ethical side of things, let's take a closer look at the business of AI avatars because there's a whole economic landscape emerging around these digital beings. So we've got these digital beings like popping up everywhere in media, sports, healthcare, even like on our social media feeds. But how does this all translate into like cold, hard cash? What's the business model behind this whole AI avatar explosion? Well, it's a fascinating landscape, really. We're seeing a whole range of approaches like Imagine subscribing to a service that gives you access to like a library of AI avatars, each one with like its own unique skills and personality.
Okay.
Like you need a virtual tutor for your kid, boom, there's an avatar for that one, a witty AI companion to spice up your next virtual meeting done.
It's like the streaming services we have for movies and music, but for like AI personalities, I can definitely see the appeal there. But what about businesses? Are we talking about companies like building their own avatars from scratch?
Some are, but it's not always necessary. Think about it like this. You could build your own house, or you could buy one that's already built and just like customize it to your liking, right? There are companies offering like pre-made AI avatars that businesses can license and then just tweak to fit their brand and needs.
So like choosing a template and then adding your own logo and color scheme?
Exactly.
That makes sense. It's a much faster and probably more cost-effective way to jump on the AI avatar bandwagon.
Exactly. And then you have the whole world of virtual goods and services emerging around these avatars. Just like in video games, you can buy outfits, accessories, even virtual real estate for your digital persona.
I'm picturing like a whole virtual economy springing up around these avatars, people buying and selling digital items, trading virtual fashion, maybe even attending virtual concerts featuring AI pop stars. It's mind-boggling.
And it's not just limited to individual consumers. Businesses are using AI avatars to create like interactive training simulations,
Yeah.
virtual customer service reps, even AI-powered sales assistants.
Hold on, virtual sales assistants? I'm trying to imagine that.
Imagine walking into a virtual store and being greeted by an AI avatar who knows your shopping preferences,
Right.
can answer your questions about products, and even offer like personalized recommendations.
It's like having a personal shopper, but without the awkward small talk. I have to admit, that's pretty cool.
And it's not just about convenience for businesses. It's about gathering valuable data about customer behavior,
Yeah.
which can then be used to refine marketing strategies and create even more personalized experiences.
It all comes back to personalization, doesn't it? It's like AI avatars are giving us the best of both worlds, the efficiency and scalability of technology, but with like a human touch.
Exactly. And this is where things start to get really interesting because as these AI avatars become more sophisticated, they're not just performing tasks, they're starting to understand and respond to human emotions.
Wait, are we talking about AI that can actually feel emotions?
Not quite, but they can analyze facial expressions, voice tones, and even text patterns to kind of gauge a person's emotional state.
So like an AI therapist that can sense when you're feeling stressed or anxious, that's both amazing and a little scary.
It is, and it raises a whole host of questions about how we'll interact with these digital beings in the future.
Hmm.
Will we treat them as tools, or will we start to form like genuine emotional connections with them?
That's a big question and one that we're probably only just beginning to grapple with. But for now, let's bring it back down to earth a bit and talk about the public's perception of all this. I mean, are people embracing AI avatars or are they pushing back against this digital invasion? So we've covered like the mind-blowing applications, the business models, even like the potential for AI avatars to understand our emotions. But what's the public's take on all this? Like, are we ready to welcome these digital beings into our lives?
Well, it's kind of like dipping your toes into a pool, right? Some people are just diving right in, excited by like all the possibilities, but others are more hesitant, maybe even a little fearful of the unknown.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like on the one hand, we've got this like shiny new tech that promises to make our lives easier, more entertaining, even more connected. But on the other hand, there's that nagging feeling of like, is this going too far?
Right. And it's not just about like a fear of the technology itself. It's about what these AI avatars like represent. A blurring of the lines between the real and the virtual,
Hmm.
a potential shift in like how we define what it means to be human.
It's like those classic sci-fi stories where robots become so lifelike that we start questioning like our own reality. But hey, maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. What are some of the like real world reactions you're seeing out there?
Well, think about virtual influencers. They've got millions of followers,
Yeah.
brand deals, even their own controversies. People are engaging with them, reacting to them, sometimes even forgetting that they're not interacting with a real person.
It's like that moment when you realize that the character you've been like rooting for in a video game isn't actually making choices. It's all code. It kind of makes you question how much we project our own emotions and desires onto these digital creations.
Exactly. And that's where the conversation gets really interesting because it's not just about how realistic these avatars look or sound. It's about the emotional connections we form with them.
I'm thinking about those AI companions for the elderly we talked about earlier. Like, if an AI can provide companionship and reduce loneliness, does it really matter if it's not real in the traditional sense?
That's a question like philosophers have been wrestling with for centuries, and it's one that's going to become increasingly relevant as AI avatars become more integrated into our lives.
So where do we go from here? What does the future hold for these digital beings?
Well, one thing's for sure, they're not going away. In fact, they're only going to become more realistic, more sophisticated, more intertwined with our everyday lives.
So we're all going to have AI best friends, AI coworkers, maybe even AI romantic partners. It's a lot to wrap our heads around.
It is, but instead of getting caught up in the what ifs,
Mm.
I think it's important to focus on the how do we want to shape this future? How do we ensure that these AI avatars are used ethically, responsibly, and in a way that benefits humanity?
That's a tall order, but one that we can't ignore. We've got to be mindful of the potential pitfalls like bias in algorithms, the spread of misinformation, and the impact on human jobs.
Absolutely. And we need to have open, honest conversations about these challenges. It's not about rejecting the technology. It's about shaping its development and making sure that it aligns with our values.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
The future of AI avatars, it's not predetermined. It's a future that we're actively creating with every choice we make. So stay informed, ask questions, and be part of the conversation.
Well said. And remember, listeners, this isn't just some abstract concept. AI avatars are already here. They're evolving rapidly, and they're going to have a huge impact on all of our lives. So buckle up and get ready for the ride because the future is closer than you think. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.